Start the meeting. Welcome to the July 9th meeting of the Board of Cemetery Trustees. This is the first meeting we've had since March 12th at Greenwood Cemetery because of coronavirus. Let's go over the minutes of our March meeting. Are there any questions or comments? Are there any questions and comments of our March minutes? Hearing none, minutes approved as presented. Let's start, we have a guest today, Maria and Joe Keaton, I believe. Is that correct? And it's about the stolen vases, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Ever since I've been on board, vandalism and theft has been one of our hardest issues to deal with. And it happens way too many times. And vandalism and theft is terrible just to start with any place. But at the cemetery, it's really bad. And we're talking grave sites of our family and loved ones. And it's just a shame that this happens. Now, your request is for the cemetery to pay for the base, I believe, correct?
Yes, the hole is filling up with water. There's no base there.
Right.
And it's just kind of disgraceful. My dad was, he's a veteran, and I want to be able to let my mom put some flowers on the grave, and, you know, we would really like to have that back. And when they do put it back, I would like to have some type of a chain connected to it, because a little while back, it got kind of bent up, like the mower must have went over it. It must not have been down in the hole far enough, and it got bent up, so it was real hard to put it on, and the actual chain was off of it. So I see why somebody just came by and decided to snatch that one right up.
So this happened early in the year, and over 70 of these days okay? And as a procedure, with anything that's purchased through the cemetery, okay? The person goes in and sees Mark, or superintendent, Mr. Tomchek, or assistant superintendent, and purchases it at the cemetery. And at the time of purchase, we have a contract and have a generic one here, and it just states the cemetery will not be responsible for theft or the decoration of the place. Now, in your case, if the lawnmower would hit it, and that was the case, and broke it, we would replace it. But on theft, we can't replace it. But there is some good news to this, that with the assistant of our superintendent, negotiated with Matthews to let you purchase at cost a new bronze vase and a considerable savings. And that's about the best you can do.
What does that cost?
Mark?
$160.
This is the procedure, right? I mean, I'm kind of appalled by it all, you know, I mean.
I want to see that person sign when they
Yes,
Can I bring it back here so we
Sure,
can see it?
it's a generic one.
Okay, thank you.
We didn't have time to dig out the original, but that's what everyone signs.
So is the vase our property or your property?
No.
Whose is it?
Okay, so, let's say, all right, going forward then, my question being, let's say that my mom lives on Social Security. She's in assisted living right now, so it's not like she's made money. And I don't think that it should be us kids that have to put forth the money for my dad to get a new vase. So going forward, would that hole be filled in, or would there just be, it would just stay the same if we do not purchase a new vase?
If you're not purchasing the base unit, a cap, there's a cap that goes in that hole to cover up that hole for the safety of anybody visiting graves. Right, with a trip or stumble or whatever. There would be a cap that goes into the, where the base was at.
I mean, so I'm not allowed to put anything on the college grade unless it's in a base, is that correct?
Well, that's the policy, but right now, we're letting people go that are, like your position, talking about the base being missing. So what they're doing is they're just putting their declarations right now into the hole itself until this is all resolved.
So we would take the cap off, put the flowers in the.
Yes, ma'am.
It would be a removable cap.
It's just a plastic cap, it looks like the bottom of the basin.
Okay. Is there any way we can negotiate going in half on this? Or, I mean, are you dead set against helping me out here? I mean, my dad did serve in the Korean War. And, I mean, that, I don't know, I just can't fathom this. I've never had a situation.
Base unit with the year cost in the manufacturer is $242. I talked to the sales rep in our area, and he in turn talked to the company Matthews, and we negotiated it down as low as they would go, so it at $160, which is approximately $80 less than what the actual cost is. So they're giving us a tremendous discount, so we can pass the discount on.
Okay, so no negotiation.
No, you can't really do that because you can understand that, like, there's vandalism several times a year nowadays. And there, you know, if you set a precedent that we could not, plus we don't have the funds for it either, so we're just.
We're already, not to interrupt, but we're already, like I said a second ago, we're already at $80 less than what cost is, so we've negotiated it down already as low as what we can buy it for. After that, but the president said it's without sounding cold-hearted, that when the family buys it, they know that it is theirs. We do the best we can at watching out for them. We have not had any vase vandalism in years. Cemetery has other vandalism, but we haven't had any vase thefts in years. It's the first time this happened. I believe it was since 1991 when such a massive amount were gone. At the same time they were stealing from Swan Lake, we belong to what's known as the Indiana Cemetery Association. We in turn, I did, call different members of our association. Kokomo, and there's one cemetery that deals with the Matthews Bronze Corporation, had close to 100 stolen. Fort Wayne, there were 3 cemeteries that were all owned by the diocese that had close to, I think the lady told me, close to 250 stolen. For some reason, in December of last year, a lot of the cemeteries in the area had vases stolen. Graceland Cemetery, Valparaiso, not only had vases stolen, but they actually, you said your dad's a veteran, so you know what your dad's veteran plaque is? They were actually stealing those at Graceland and Valparaiso. Now, a reputable junk dealer, that's a 12 by 24, 52-pound piece of bronze. A reputable junk dealer will not take those. I have to stress that, reputable. Those vase units are only worth scrap, maybe $6 to $8, scrap. So where they went with it, I can't honestly, we've checked around, nobody in the area had it. I used to be on the board of directors at the Indiana Cemetery Association, so I called a lot of different cemeteries and found out if they had any other, if there was any local junk dealers, and they said nobody in your area received any plaques or vases. So what they're doing with them is beyond me unless they're taking them out of state, or they're spending the money to somehow melt them down into like bricks or something, I don't know. But we had, this is our first time that we've had this stolen in a long time.
Is it possible for you to actually want to sign that someone?
Sure.
Okay, and then how long is this up for, the main charge at price? How long do I have to decide with this gentleman that's gonna give me the deal?
The company,
Sure.
probably a year.
And I would go through you,
Go back to $242 cost.
so I would go through you or,
The office is not like,
okay.
but I think the person that heard,
Richard A. Bell, B-E-L-L.
did he sign it or did you sign it, or?
I'm sure my mom did.
Okay.
I would assume that, I don't know because, you know,
And I can find this out, don't get me wrong, this question, do you have your house indicate,
that my father passed away.
right, Margaret Watt?
May, what year was it? May it was in, November, actually.
Doesn't have to be yet, just years.
I,
Okay, that's all right. Just look it up.
I'm not sure. I'm sorry, I kind of, his birthday is what I remember, not the day he passed. It's not a good memory.
I will look that up, and you're gonna call the office on every Monday or Tuesday, or my secretary is off this, and on vacation. I've been doing her job and my job, so I didn't have so long. You call maybe Monday or Tuesday. If you want a copy of the original, I can give you a copy of the original. I can even mail it to you if you'd like. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, my first name is Maria, M-A-R-I-A. Last name is Keaton, K-O-E-T-O-N. My address is 0181.
0181.
Correct. West Greenlawn Drive.
Is that one word?
Greenlawn is one word. Report
All right.
46350.
I will look that up and sometime, and we will make a copy of the original sales contract. Is that acceptable?
It is, and I would suggest that you provide a copy of the
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I was just asking our legal person here, and she said that's an acceptable thing, but she also wants all the board members to have a copy of it also. So you should be getting it in the mail next week or a week after early. Okay?
I understand the situation is difficult, and I appreciate your time and everybody listening to me. I understand, and I'm sorry I got upset, but it's just my dad, and, you know, it just really tears at my heartstrings because I'm not going to take my mom to my dad's plot anymore because of this. I can't break it to her. My mom's 86 years old, and she can't take it.
She's quarantined.
It would break her heart to know that this happened and that nothing could be done about it. I mean, but does anybody have any kind of business cards or anything? Because I don't know who the board is, or how can I find out who I dealt with today, or?
I'll put all the names on that sheet.
Okay, well, I thank you very much, everybody, and thanks for letting us come in. This is my brother Rick, my husband Joe. I appreciate it, thank you much. We'll leave you guys too. And thanks for sending that, sir. I'll be sure to make my brother a copy and we'll.
All right.
Thank you. I'll let you know when I decide, okay?
All right, thank you.
Now,
Yes.
they took mine too,
Okay, that's just, what's your husband doing?
and we have to buy another.
Well, I don't know that I wanna go and buy another one and have the same thing happen again. It's just, and, you know, mangoes are gonna be mangoes. you know? And it's just,
It's an ongoing problem.
yeah, it's a real shame that the kids have to, well, I shouldn't say kids, because who knows, they could be adults that are just being stupid,
Yeah.
have too much time on their hands and nothing to do.
The last time we had vandalism like that, they were two gentlemen, 28 and 31. One drove a pickup truck and the other one just ran through it, but that's the way we figured. That was in 1991.
What, I mean, it's such a disgrace,
Yes, it is.
and it's such a dishonor.
Thanks again.
I think that this would be something I'd have to become, you know, but I appreciate you allowing me to come in.
Thank you very much
All
for
this
coming.
craziness, I'm sorry for your loss. So, appreciate your time, thank you everyone. Have a great evening, safe.
All right, let's go with financial report from our friends from Horizon Bank. It's been about 5 months since we had the last report. I'm sure you got some wonderful news to tell us, correct?
Yes. It's good to be back, seeing everybody. If you look at your packets, I'll just go through the summary here on the first page. We'll start at the top with the permanent maintenance Greenwood account. That account was up 0.13 for the month of June and 0.94 year to date. Beneath that, we have the permanent maintenance Swan Lake, up 0.11 for June and 0.88 year to date. Then we have the extension fund, up 0.14 for June and 1% year to date. And then finally, the merchandise and commissions fund. With this account, we did have a payment go out to Harris. And that account was up 0.10 for June and 0.51 for year to date. If you turn to page 3, the account summaries. Starting with the permanent maintenance Greenwood account. The money market yield has dropped considerably over the past few months since we last met, and I'm sure Brian will touch on that a little bit in a minute. The yield right now is 0.19 on the money market. If you go down below that, the mutual fund overall yield 2.25, which was down from 2.31 last month. The overall yield in the account 2.42, down slightly from 2.47 last month. Next page, we have permanent maintenance Swan Lake. In this account, there's a decent amount of cash that's built up, so you may want to talk and decide if some of that could be invested, because it's really not earning much in the money market. I spoke with Brian earlier, and his recommendation was putting more money into that Vanguard Ginnie Mae fund, which we had used before for excess cash. So that's something we can discuss. But in this account, the mutual fund overall yield 2.33, down from 2.39 last month. Total account yield 2.26, down from 2.32 last month. Next page is the extension fund. This account as well has built up a little bit excess cash in that money market, so it's something we could look at putting that money to work, some of that money to work as well. Mutual fund yield is 2.27, which is down from 2.34, and the overall yield 2.44, down from 2.51. And then finally, we have the merchandise fund account. Yield of the mutual funds in that account, 2.24, which was down from 2.32 last month. And overall yield, 1.7, down from about 2% last month. And I'll turn over to Brian with some commentary on the economy.
Well, nice to see everyone. It's been a long time. So much has happened. It's really, I don't even know where to begin. the economy shut down in the second quarter, and as a result, GDP is probably going to contract by about 1/3. I've seen estimates as high as 40%. So with the economy contracting that much and some of the policy measures kicking in both from the Federal Reserve and as well from the federal government in the form of 0% interest rates from the Federal Reserve and a lot of different policies that they've enacted to increase the size of their balance sheet to buy bonds to help smooth over the soft patch in the economy. And you've got the federal government with about $3 trillion of fiscal stimulus so far as a result of the coronavirus. And you combine those two together, it's an historical policy response for an historical event with the economy. So when you look at market rates as a result of all these events, you can see that the 2-year Treasury is trading at about a 16 basis points yield, and a 10-year Treasury is trading at about a 60 basis point yield today. So risk-free assets don't yield very much at all at this point. If you look at 1-year CDs that are available, when we look across all the banks nationally, it's typical to get 35 basis points for a 1-year CD. 2-year CD is best we can do, probably is 40 basis points. So as you extend out in your maturities for these different fixed income products, you don't really pick up much yield. So the question is, how long is this going to last for these low yields? And I think the Federal Reserve, with the Chairman Jay Powell, made it clear in his communications that it's going to be years where we have these low interest rates. It's going to take a long time for the economy to recover. I think we have a nice little bounce going in the last few months as the economy is reopening in various parts of the country. Unfortunately, though, we are seeing a resurgence in the virus in many parts of the country, and that's going to make any type of forward progress from here on out extremely difficult to get back to where we were in January and February. So I fully expect interest rates to stay very low for all the way through 2022. And what that will mean for the accounts is that when you have maturities, the reinvestment opportunities are not going to be good. You'll have to reinvest at lower interest rates because that's what the market, that's where the market is at the moment. So it could be lower yields in the accounts here for the next couple of years, and we'll do our best to find the opportunities as they present themselves to get the best risk-adjusted returns we can within the confines of buying these government-backed issuers. So that is the short version of what's happened. But if anybody has any questions about the economy, interest rates, or markets, I'd be happy to answer them now.
So Steve, do you have any comments on how much we should invest in the FR?
Right. It doesn't make
Yeah,
much
that's the
difference. You're really not going to earn anything on it, are you?
The GMA Vanguard Mutual Fund actually still carries an acceptable yield, I think. These are mortgage pools that are backed by the government, so there's very little risk from a credit standpoint. And when I checked this morning, the 30-day SEC yield, which is a kind of a forward way of looking at what you're going to earn in a yield on the fund, it was 1.7. So 1.7 compared to the treasuries on 10-year treasuries at 60 basis points. I think that's on a relative basis much better. Yes.
How much do you suggest moving?
That is a question I think I would leave to Brad because I'm not familiar with the day-to-day cash movements in the account, so maybe Brad.
Yeah, in these accounts, just typically across the board, we usually keep around 2% in cash. Swan Lake right now has closer to a little bit under 5% in cash, the Swan Lake account. So if we were to invest, say, $20,000 of that cash, we would still keep a little over 2% in cash in that account. The extension fund has a little bit under 4% in cash right now. So if we were to invest about 10,000 of the cash in the extension fund, we would still keep a little over 2% there. So that was just my thoughts, and we could always keep out more if you foresee more expenses coming up, and you might need more liquid, cash in there.
I make a motion to do that.
Okay.
I would make a motion to do what he just said.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to make a motion because I barely could hear what you were saying through these masks.
Well, sir,
Okay, and she's, Ms. Dimke seconded it? Okay, so would you repeat the motion just for record?
sure. So, the Swan Lake account, we would invest 20,000 into the Vanguard GMA fund. That would keep a little over 2% remaining in cash. And then in the extension fund, we would invest 10,000 into that Vanguard GMA fund, which would also leave about 2% left in cash.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, so we're gonna, 20,000 and 10. Okay, great. Sorry, just kind of hard to hear.
No, it's okay. I understand.
All right, is there any other questions on our financials? Any questions on our monthly financial statements? Mark, do you want anything to add on our financials from this month thing? Nothing? Nope. Okay. So, all right, so, do I have a motion to approve the financial report?
So moved.
Okay, all in favor? Motion carried, financial report. Okay, thank you very much, guys. All right, next item on the agenda is the bills. Mark?
The bills are going to be a process here. We have to see out the bills that have already been paid for, going back to the March meeting, or the next meeting afterwards. We have the general insurance for liability, $2,352. Property, $5,459. Auto, $6,706 for a total of $14,517 for the property liability and auto insurance. We have, let's do this. Gotta sign it. Who's gotta sign that one? Sure. Next one is Caitlin Ace Hardware, Assorted Repair Parts. $25.85. News Dispatch, advertising for spring cleanup, $244.68. Water and sewage, $32.70. Republic Services, dumping the hopper at Swan Lake of trash, $103.31. And NIPSCO, $982.98. Permanent maintenance, Greenwood, $820.75. Swan Lake, Swan Lake, $450 for a total of $1,270.25. Extension fund receipts, $2,252.50. And merchandise receipts, $1,411.48 for a total of $4,934.23. That's for the March one. And we come up to the April one. April bills, Matthews, $1,242.69. Harris Precast for foundations, $2,346.48. Noel Brothers Gasoline and Diesel, $711.29. NIPSCO, $755.52, gas and electric. Cable and Ace Hardware, sorted repair parts, $54.12. Water and sewage, $32.70. Republic, trash, $183.94. Permanent maintenance receipts. Greenwood, $27.75. Swan Lake, $1,017.75 for a total of $1,045.50. Extension fund receipts, $1,851.75. Merchandise receipts, $1,017.85 for a total of $3,915.10. Moving along. All there. Grants. Feed Emporium. Swan Food, $86.75. Water and sewage at Greenwood, $35.42. D&M for the septic tank at Swan Lake, $325. Harris Precast for foundations, $205.20. Cable and Ace Hardware, $46.37. Noel Brothers Gas and Diesel, $838.93. NIPSCO, $544.33. Republic dump pickup box. We had a credit due, so it's not as much as the other months. It's $42.54. And for Marquette Township flowers, $224.85. Let me explain. When I buy the flowers, I put it on a personal credit card because we don't have a setup with the one company I went to. Because this year, most of the companies that I have dealt with in the past did not plant as many flowers because they weren't sure as where they were going to be. So we had to really scramble to look for flowers. So I paid for them, got reimbursed. That's what that's about. Permanent maintenance. Swan Lake, $1,597.10. Extension fund receipts, $4,090.75. Merchandise receipts, $3,856 for a total of $9,543.85. I don't have them for the next one. They didn't ship it to us yet. Okay, for last month's bills, we have cash, Board of Cemetery Trustees postage, $110. We have Harris Foundations, $624. Cable and Ace Hardware, 2-stroke oil for the string trimmers, $10.78. Matthews, markers and lettering, $2,315.14. Water and sewage, $381.20. NIPSCO, $476.30. Repair of window at Greenwood, $578.72. Permanent maintenance receipts. Swan Lake, $3,728.05. Extension fund receipts, $10,251 even. Merchandise receipts, $11,698 even, for a total of $25,677.05. And those are the bills for the president.
Thank you very much. So are there any questions on the previous month's bills at all?
payment for insurance was all for the year, right?
Correct. We did that when Bob Rose was down there. He suggested we go the year that we would say between 10 and 12%. And that's where we've been doing it since 1989.
And I don't know if anybody knows about the windows, payment on the window. I don't think nobody knows what.
Window in the front was broken out. Only the front pane was broken. We had to replace the window. At Greenwood, the window was replaced.
Right.
Oh, okay.
One more question. Did Myers Glass and Mirror give you some shields for the offices?
You're stealing my
Oh,
stuff.
sorry. Well, let's finish this. Okay. All right, is there any more questions on the bill? All right, do I have a motion to pay bills? I mean, yeah.
What are people? If you're
I'll make a
going to
motion
report
to
this
pay
in
the bill.
Okay. Second. For a second, pay bills? All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. All right, Mr. Superintendent, please have the report. Sorry to mention that.
It's all right. It's just, okay, first thing, we had a meeting yesterday in this building, I believe it was yesterday, for the budget process of 2021. And I think the biggest reason that we had it, because there are so many new department heads, and they had to explain it was called Budget 101. If everybody new, which is just about everybody, a idea how to do their financial for 2021. It has to be turned into the controller's office by Tuesday, July 21, by electronic. Any questions on the budget? Number two, we started doing sales appointments Monday, June 6th, with very strict rules and guidelines. One, there can be no more than 2 people in the office for the appointment at one time. 2, children 16 and younger will not be allowed. A mask must be worn before walking into the door, or in the door. All appointments must use the back door of the office and use the table in the back room, and it is marked off with a 6-foot social distancing. I have since then probably done 20 markers and trips since then. Actually, I did a couple on Saturday morning too, there. So we've opened it up to the sales appointments because so many people have been calling since nothing had been done since March. But very strict. No noses can hang out. Masks have to be worn. No kids. It's like I think it was at the Menards sign. Questions on that?
The other question I have is cleaning the offices, what kind of ordinance are you doing on
All right.
that? Cleaning the offices.
After we're done, we've got stuff in there, and I clean the offices myself.
Clean the offices.
Wipe everything down, spray everything, clean everything.
How often are you doing that?
After each sales appointment.
Okay. You answer my question.
Right, I've seen the operation and it's very simple. So it's got a big table, 8-foot table, the person sits in one and Mark sits at the other and they spray it down. The box can do that, so it's very efficient.
You didn't help.
Hell, no, you help. Oh, you can't help.
I just supervise.
Yeah. No, I'm very cognizant of what we're doing. We do the chairs, the table, the arms, the door handles,
What to do?
everything. Number 3, guards for both offices have been ordered and will be placed on the counter in front of each secretary, one at Greenwood, one at Swan Lake.
Why don't you give us a description of what you mean by guards?
Okay. These should be ready in a few weeks to be installed before the office is open to the public. They are approximately 5 feet long. They will be 4 feet tall, and they will have a slit or a cutout at the bottom for people to slide paperwork through or the like. They will be, you're all familiar with Greenwood and the like, so it'll be from almost the corner as you go in Greenwood, from the corner where it bends, almost to the window. So it should be covered entirely, same way at Swan Lake with Roxanne. It's from where it curves right here, and they're both, like, I believe, 5 feet long, 4 feet long. Going to be about $950 for the two of them, and we should get all the money back. Because we have to explain to Roxanne and myself, anything that you do that concerning this COVID, you file and you get a reimbursement from the government. So we should get money back. Questions on that one? There's a couple of things to note since we haven't met for the last few months, a couple of things that happened. We did our spring cleanup. We had almost no complaints at both cemeteries. It went very well for the spring cleanup. Okay, the other thing was, both cemeteries, contrary to what a lot of people believe, both cemeteries were cut several times with riding mowers before Memorial Day. Unfortunately, we did not get Greenwood totally trimmed around all the monuments before Memorial Day. We only got about 70%, 75% of the cemetery. By the end of May, first couple of weeks in June, we had the whole cemetery spring trimmed. I guess that's all I'll say about that. Water was turned on in Greenwood this year, a little later than normal. It was more towards the end of May this year, for obvious reasons. The last few days and going forward, we are trimming low-hanging branches over the roads and in the sections where it's hard for the mower to get under. We should be working on that for a while, funerals permitting. We are also cutting out any dead branches when possible. This is something we try and do every other year, but unfortunately we haven't. This is like the third or fourth year, so there's a lot of low-hanging branches. When I talked to the foreman, we've gotten out about 6 or 7 loads of branches out of the cemetery already. And you saw them, right? They were everywhere. Our branches.
I know. I saw it.
Our branches.
I saw it.
Okay. On a sadder note, that's not sad, one of our full-time employees, another reason why we had trouble at Memorial Day, had to self-quarantine the second and third week in May for 14 days. He had been in close proximity to someone who had tested positive for the COVID-19, whatever it is, virus. The employee tested negative. The 2 tests he had were both negative. He was off for 14 days. And he was tested and cleared by his doctor to return to work after the 14 days. That's another thing where we should get paid back on. 14 days he was off, comes out of our pay, but it comes out of that COVID thing. And we belong to this payment process with Matthews Browns. It's on a yearly sales amount. And if you meet your amount, you get 4% back of your total sales from the year earlier. So from April of 19 to March of 20 of this year, we got a rebate sent to us the other day, not us, it comes out of our bill, of $1,932 even. So over the last several years we've belonging to this, we've saved over $10,000 in money through the Matthews Corporation.
Very good.
Now, on a final note, I would just like to make a personal note and commend our employees who are working, our seasonal, who are working during this extremely warm weather. They come in every day, they put forth an honest day's work, and they're doing a really good job. in the cemetery. And the same token, we've been extremely busy at Swan Lake with funerals, and the gentlemen out there have not only been doing their funerals, but they've been they keep up with cutting the grass and doing other odds and ends. Same way with that Greenwood, we've done a lot of extra work in Greenwood because we haven't had many funerals. I'm not bugging anybody for money here, I just want to commend the workforce at both cemeteries for doing an excellent job so far this year under very trying conditions. One, this, and other one that.
That's great to hear.
That's it.
Okay. Thanks for that great report.
You told me to keep it short, I could have made it longer.
That's okay. If we had any old business that we needed to talk about, is there? Any new business?
The only old business on there was about the trees, and that's been put on hold with the lady for a while.
Oh, right, the trees, yes.
Just kind of on hold.
What was that, what's on hold? Are we guys, what you guys said?
The tree lady said maybe we're gonna look at the trees, and right now that's all been put on hold with,
Yes.
we can't do any overtime, we can't hire anybody,
We can't remove any roads, correct?
we can't do anything. Unless you have an in with somebody. I don't. It's getting further too.
The only new business that we're meeting here the rest of the year. So, until further notice. Does anybody have any comments on anything? Hearing none, meeting's adjourned.